Quorum is established. We are in session. A couple of housekeeping orders of business before we get started. Thanks everybody for being here. I will call you up as well as your sponsoring senator. You guys will come up, stand right behind the dais, the presenting dais up here. Harrison, our photographer, will take a picture of you. If you have family that you want to be a part of the picture, bring them forward at that point as well. Sit, make a presentation. The senator will speak first. The appointee will speak if they'd like and answer any questions when you're done. The sponsoring senator needs to go over and talk to Mark, who's waving at you now, and make sure you sign the appointment letter. We're going to move around just a touch. We got some folks who, thanks everybody for being patient. Also, welcome to the Missouri Senate. It's just another day in paradise. We'll start with, let's start with Kenny Jones as a member of the Missouri State Capitol Commission. Senator Bernskoetter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Like the chairman said, my name is Mike Bernskoetter. I'm here to present Kenny Jones to you. Mr. Jones is being appointed as a member of the Missouri State Capitol Commission. He has a wide variety of experience, including chairman/board member of the Missouri Board of Probation and Parole, served as a House Representative for 5 years, served as a Montauk County Sheriff for 19 years, and was a Missouri State Trooper for 10 years, and he'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator Bernskoetter. Kenny, thank you for being here today. Questions for this nominee? Senator Mick.
Hi, Mr. Jones.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Maybe afternoon.
It is afternoon, I think, yes. I've looked around the Capitol in my brief time here and seen lots of work that's been started, and I know there's a lot of meticulous details that are uncovering to try to get it back to the original look. I think that's pretty neat. With all that going on, I'm not sure how familiar you are yet, but if you are familiar with some of the things that are being planned, can you tell me what kind of just a brief timeline of what we may be expecting?
I don't know that much about what we're expecting, but I'm pretty open-minded about it. This is a historic building. We need to maintain the historic parts of it.
Yeah, good.
And also to improve for the future.
We didn't get a chance to talk before, and so that was kind of a probably a more detailed question than maybe I should have asked. But I think, though, that this Capitol is just, it's beautiful. Everybody who sees it think it's probably one of the most beautiful in the country, and I agree. And so I'm grateful to those who are on the commission and are taking careful looks at what needs to be done and getting it back to the original condition. So I wish you well on that. And is there something that, besides what Senator Bernskoetter mentioned as far as your background, or something that wasn't presented that you'd like for us to know?
I'm retired, so I got all the time to do whatever I want.
There's a big guy, though, that I saw him earlier. Did you bring him along, or did he just...
Oh,
I see him now. Okay. Why? I may catch flack from him after that. But anyway, I think we still get along pretty good until now. So, yeah, we're grateful to you for your willingness to be on the commission, and hope it goes well for you.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Further questions for Mr. Jones? Seeing none. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your willingness to serve. Senator Bernskoetter, stay put. We'll hear Chad Hartman as a member of the Missouri 9/11 Service Board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I have Chad Hartman, like the chairman said. Chief Hartman is being appointed as a member of the Missouri 911 Service Board. He is currently serving as chief of police in the city of Versailles since 2013. Prior to that, he was a patrol/supervisor since 1977, where he also served as dispatcher for Morgan County for over a year. And he'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Hartman, thank you for being here today. Questions for this nominee? Senator Moon.
Mr. Hartman,
Yes.
you've been involved in the 911 system for quite a while, it sounds like.
On the law enforcement side, yes.
Okay, so I'll ask you this question. Hopefully it won't be out of your purview, but considering the changes that over the years since it was implemented, the 911 service, and the rapid change in technology, what does the future look like? I mean, we've got cell phones now, and they have been pretty well adapted to finding locations, but is there anything on the horizon that you know of that might be a big change that would be welcome or present problems that we need to address?
Right now, it's just trying to keep up with the latest technologies, but I know the service board's working right now just trying to update every county in the state of Missouri just to get to the enhanced 911 service. There's still counties in our state that you dial a phone and it's one line. We can't find out where you're at if you call. So that's been the focus of the board so far, and I'm just trying to learn and keep up with those that have been doing this for longer than I have, that are members of the board. But it's
Good. Well, I wish you success. Thank you.
we just want to be able to keep up.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Further questions for this nominee? Seeing none. Thank you for your willingness to serve. Thanks for being here today. One more for Senator Bernskoetter. Mick Campbell as a Commissioner of Finance for the Department of Commerce and Insurance.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Mick Campbell is being appointed as Commissioner of Finance for the Department of Commerce and Insurance. He graduated with a Master's of Business Administration from Missouri State University. He has been with the Division of Finance since 2011, serving as Supervisor of Mortgage Licensing, then as Deputy Commissioner, and currently serves as Acting Commissioner since January of 2022. And he'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Campbell, thank you for being here today. Questions for this nominee, Senator O'Laughlin.
So give me an example of some of the things that you would be reviewing.
So within the Division of Finance, so we have oversight of Missouri state chartered banks and non-depository consumer financial services companies. That's what's within our purview. So our mission is to make sure that Missouri citizens and businesses maintain trust in our state's financial system. So we do that by ensuring that depositors, deposits within our state charter banks are safe and sound, and also that we create a fair marketplace for both industry and citizens through oversight of those regulated entities.
So do you look at what the bank invests their money in?
Yes, that's part of the safety and soundness process.
So have you heard of the ESG movement?
So yeah, I'm aware of the term, yes.
How do you feel about that?
In terms of ESG, right now there is absolutely no state or federal laws whatsoever that require a bank to follow any type of ESG protocol. And I really believe that it still needs to stay in the banks, needs to be their decision as to whether that is ever needed for their business or not. So.
Because we watched this year not this year now, last year, a couple of banks failed, one in California, mainly because it used the ESG criteria to invest its money, and that did not work out. And I would hate to see that kind of thing happen here, but I know that is the kind of thing that sort of creeps in, and I would hope that you would be against that.
Yes, and it would be, and right now our banks do not have those types of concentrations and in those types of industries that create the problems that SVB created for themselves.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Further questions? Senator Moon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Campbell.
Good afternoon, Senator.
We had a good conversation, I think. I'm grateful to you that you came by to talk. You mentioned something that really I think was very interesting, and I think I'd like for the senators on the committee and maybe those who are listening in to hear about your perception of the role and responsibilities of the banks in Missouri. So,
Yeah, Missouri has a very strong banking community, our community banks. There's 196 of them that we have in our state, and that ranks 4th in the country. And those state charter banks provide a tremendous amount of support and services to their local communities. And it's my goal and my mission in my position to make sure that Missouri stays a leader in banking, and it will.
and you alluded to, and I think it's probably apparent that these banks are a cornerstone in a lot of these smaller communities especially, and they do a lot to support businesses and other entities in the area. So I'm grateful that you mentioned that to me, because even though it seems like it should be apparent, it really wasn't at the time. And I wish you well in your endeavors to continue to have banking continue to be strong in our state. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator.
Further questions from Ms. Campbell? Senator Lukemeyer.
Commissioner, thank you for being here. Do you have any particular visions for the department of things that you would like to see change, updates that would be made to the way that the department does anything? I'm just trying to get just a general sense of your vision for the department.
Well, thank you, Senator, for the question. And I want to speak about the Division of Finance. We're a Type 3 agency, so we're autonomous within the department. So I can only speak for what I can control, which is what is within the Division of Finance. And I don't think there's anything in particular. I mean, I've been with the division for a very long time, and now in a leadership position for several years. And I think that we've made some positive improvements to, one thing in particular is we've had a long-standing issue with turnover, and I think we've really done a lot in the last few years to improve morale. Our bank examiners, it takes 4 or 5 years to train them, and so the last thing we want is our banks to have to deal with examiners that don't have sufficient experience. And so one of my biggest goals is to make sure that we maintain a bank examination force that is competent and responsible and well-trained, because we owe that not only to our banks, but also to our citizens.
And then I think you mentioned this earlier in your opening comments. You do depository institutions like banks, but then you said also non-depository financial institutions. So I would assume insurance companies then would fall within your purview, or is that different?
No, insurance companies do not fall within
Okay.
the purview of the Division of Finance.
Okay.
That's within the larger Department of Commerce and Insurance.
Okay, so when you talked about non-depository institutions, though, what are you referring to then?
Yeah, so that's mortgage companies, loan originators that work for mortgage companies, consumer finance lenders, money transmitters.
Okay,
It's
great.
basically within financial services, either loans or money transmission outside of banking.
Thank you.
That's the only thing that's within our scope.
Further questions? Seeing none, thank you for being here today. Thanks for your
Thank you.
willingness to serve. Next up, we will hear Lacey Brumley as a member of the Missouri Board of Occupational Therapy. Senator Justin Brown. Lacey Brumley?
Oh, she's not here, sorry. All right, I think you said Gorley.
Lacey Brumley is not here yet. That's what you said? Okay. Skip her. Melissa Gorley, independent as a member of the Missouri State University Board of Governors. Also Senator Brown. Lacey Brumley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, for allowing us to be here today. It's my honor and privilege to present Dr. Melissa Gorley. to an appointment to the Missouri State University Board of Governors. Dr. Gorley resides in Mountain Grove. She's part owner and partner of Gorley Farms Registered Angus Cattle. She's a veterinarian with Whetstone Veterinary Service and received her Bachelor's of Science undergraduate degree from Missouri State. And with that, we will entertain any questions.
Thank you, Senator. Questions for this nominee, Senator O'Laughlin?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It would have been morning, but
That's all right.
I got hung
We're
up.
still here.
Do you see the university implementing a veterinarian program where a person can become a veterinarian there? You don't have that now, correct?
That is correct. The only veterinary school is at University of Missouri.
Right.
And so I don't have any knowledge of the Missouri State University implementing a veterinary school. But I do know that there are a lot of areas that are looking at maybe veterinary technician or assistant programs.
We're very short on veterinarians.
We are.
There cannot be too many, so.
We could work a lot longer days. So.
Yes, all right, thank you.
Further questions for this nominee? Senator Esslinger, go ahead.
Thank you. Only problem I have with this nominee is I didn't have the opportunity to present Dr. Gorley because of redistricting, but I am very much aware of her her services in the community, and the support that she's given to Missouri State throughout the years, and I think it's a wonderful appointment, so thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Bean.
Thanks for being here. Thank you for being here this afternoon.
Yes.
Great to have you on, and appreciate your willingness to serve. What is something you think that you can bring? What is something unique that you think you can bring to the Board of Governors?
My background is in agriculture, personally, and my career, and I feel that Missouri is a very agricultural state, and that having the knowledge of agriculture on the Board of Governors gives it variety. And so I feel like I can bring that as a business owner and an agricultural person in a little different perspective.
So we need that for sure. And once again, thank you for your willingness to serve, and I concur with Senator Esslinger's remarks, and glad to have you on board.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm honored.
Senator Bean.
Dr. Gorley?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. During our short visit, you mentioned something that I think would resonate to most Missourians, and not really unique to SMS. You were SMS
I am
too,
an
right?
SMS
Yeah.
graduate.
Okay, good.
Yes, I am.
So was I. Do you remember what that was with relation to cost?
The conversation that we had earlier.
Yeah.
I think that all students or any person that wants to have an education should have a great education at an affordable cost.
Mm-hmm.
It gets out of hand. For a lot of students, they don't have that opportunity. And so I think that Missouri State University has that ability and strives true to provide a great education at a very affordable price.
Yeah, and I don't expect you to divulge answers today because that's going to be a lot of conversations down the road.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm grateful that you're thinking along those lines, and I think a lot of families in Missouri will appreciate that effort.
I do
So,
too.
thank you.
Further questions? Seeing none. Thank you for being here today. Thanks for your willingness to serve. Last up with Senator Brown, we'll have Gary Polk as a Republican as the Dent County District 2 Commissioner.
Excuse me. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for having us here today. It is another honor and privilege of mine to present Mr. Gary Polk to the District 2 Commission seat in Dent County. I've known Gary a long time. He'll do a great job. The previous District 2 Commissioner got appointed to Presiding Commissioner, so Gary will be filling that spot. With that, we will entertain any questions.
Thank you, Senator. Questions for the nominee? Senator Moon.
Hi, Mr. Polk.
Hi.
Thanks for being willing to take this on. I don't envy you at all in that
It's been quite
job.
the experience so far.
You know, I don't know all the ins and outs of everything that a commissioner is responsible for, but I know part of it has to do with the county budget,
It does.
and it's a big part of it, I'm sure.
We're working on it now.
Yeah, and as it relates, not particularly to you, but it does affect you as well. We have noted in my Senate district, and others across the state have commented that inflation has affected them so adversely that especially some of the elderly can't stay in their homes.
It's enormous, the inflation rate compared to what we take in, compared to what we spend. I would say in the next year, if things don't turn around, the county will be making some big changes.
And I don't envy you in having to make those decisions, but the thought I wanted to plant in your mind seems it's already planted, so maybe it can be cultivated a little bit, where some serious changes need to be made, because if Missouri residents can't stay in their home because of the services that we're providing, we've got to make some changes that does not kick them out. And that's not just elderly, that's some young people too. And so, anyway, I'm just encouraging you, because I can't imagine the responsibility that's going to be. But in any case, if you have...
If things don't change, yeah, we'll be making some hard cuts, and we'll probably have a lot of unhappy people.
I'd be interested in having conversation with you if you would allow that, just to see how we might be able to help you if we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking this on, though.
Further questions for Mr. Polk? Seeing none. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your willingness to serve. Next up, we will hear Al Lee, as an independent, as a member of the Missouri Commission on Human Rights. Senator Koenig.
Thank you, members of the committee. I'm here to present Ali here for the Missouri Commission on Human Rights. I think he would do a great job. He has extensive experience, a financial background. He worked at Regions Banks. He worked at he was at Covenant Seminary, Theological Seminary, where he was the vice president and chief operating officer. Helped turn that institution around, and I think he would do a good job.
Fantastic. Thank you, Senator. Thank you for being here today. Questions for Mr. Lee?
Okay.
Senator.
Thank you for stopping by today. You have a varied experience in your background. Would you tell me or us how all the experiences you've had, how is that going to help you and aid you in your work on the commission?
Yeah, no, I have extensive volunteer experience in my community, and most of these are unpaid voluntary positions. It helps me maintain a position of neutrality to be able to speak truth in the things that I see from a financial perspective. And really my motivation is, in every single organization I serve from a volunteer perspective, it is really to make my city better, my state better, and my country better. Yeah, I think one of the things that we heard in my first meeting, that they hadn't met until there was a quorum. And so once we had a quorum, we actually suggested that we continue to, since we had a quorum, be able to approve a decision, that we would implement the ability to still meet in case there isn't a quorum again, which of course just happened. And we still met, because it's still important to be informed, even though we can't make decisions at the time.
Well, it sounds like you started off on the right foot by that decision. You can
Thank you.
keep things going. I wish you well in that. Thanks
Thank you.
for being willing to serve.
Thank you, Senator.
You're welcome.
Further questions? Seeing none. Thank you for being here today. Next up, we will hear Kerry Robinson, an independent, as a member of the Southeast Missouri State University Board of Governors, also Senator Koenig.
I am pleased to present Kerry Robinson to the Southeast Missouri State University Board of Governors. As many of you might know, he has extensive experience as a professional baseball player, and so if you have any baseball questions, now is a good time to ask those.
Questions for Mr. Robinson? Senator Laughlin.
My grandson would like to have batting lessons, which I am paying for. So if you have spare time, let me know.
That is not contingent upon you getting approved or not approved, by the way, just for anybody who's listening.
If it
Senator
helps.
Williams.
If it helps, though.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to make more of a comment. I had an opportunity to sit with Kerry, and as a SEMO grad, I'm really excited to see what you do on that board, and I think you'll bring a perspective that will be very helpful to the future of the university. So just want to say congratulations, and again, I'm really excited to see what you do in that capacity. So thanks for your willingness to serve.
Thank you, Senator.
Further questions? Senator Moon.
Mr. Robinson, thank you for being here. I apparently missed your information, so I don't have anything prepared to ask, so I'll ask. What'd you play in baseball? Which positions? And what's the extent of your career?
Yes, most people know me because I played with Albert Pujols 2001 through 2003. We were rookies together, so I played with him for 3 years. But I was an outfielder for the Cardinals, born and raised in St. Louis, so I grew up a Cardinal fan, so I was lucky enough to get to play for the hometown team.
Yeah, good, yeah. Well, tell us about your family.
My family? I'm married to my wife, Maggie, and I have 3 daughters, Brittany, Cameron, and Corey, 27, 22, and 18. So they're all soccer players, and I'm trying to be on the board for Southeast Missouri State, but my youngest daughter is committed to Lindenwood to play against us, so I don't know what that says about me. So,
well, good. I hope they're listening. Maybe they'll take that to heart. So,
hopefully.
Thank you, sir.
Further questions? Seeing none. Thank you for being here today. Thanks for your willingness to serve.
Yeah.
Last up for Senator Koenig, we'll hear Ray Wagner, Republican, as a member of the Conservation Commission.
Definitely pleased to present Ray Wagner to the Conservation Commission. I think he'd do a great job. He's a great friend of mine, known him for a long time. Obviously the husband of Ann Wagner, Congresswoman Ann Wagner, and he's a hard worker, and I know he'll do a great job.
Thank you, Senator. Ray, just tell us a little bit about, I know we've spoken about this, you've actually wanted to and pursued a chance to be on the Conservation Commission for a long time. Just tell us about what brought you to that point, and your passion for this particular appointment.
Sure. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Senator. Thank you all for the opportunity to be here this afternoon. Thank you, Senator Koenig. It's great to be here today with you. Before I answer the question, if I might, Senator, may I introduce my son, who just joined me, my what used to be a little boy, who has joined me here today. He is my avid outdoor companion with all the things that we do outdoors, and Raymond III is his name, and he's a graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point and served tour of duty in Afghanistan as an Army Ranger Infantry officer, and I'm thrilled that he can be here today. I also want to thank my colleagues from the Department of Conservation who are here today. Director Sarah Parker-Pauley, who has joined me here today and was kind enough to take a picture also. She's been a transformational leader in the agency, and I'm thrilled to carry out my interest with Director Pauley and the other colleagues that are behind us, Jason Buxton and our Sumners, Jake Buxton and Aaron Jeffries might be behind me here in the hearing as well. My interest in conservation goes back my entire life. I've had a passion. Most people know me in my public service capacities, having formerly served as anything from the Director of Revenue here in the state of Missouri to the town judge in my hometown to on the local police board and a host of other positions, but quietly getting into the outdoors, which is something that I've done since a little boy. When my father took me out into the woods and the creeks, or cricks as he called them, from the days where he was growing up on his farm. I remember the day that Santa brought me my first 20-gauge shotgun at age 11, and my parents allowed me to go out into the woods and shoot, hunt, or try to find rabbits, something I'll be doing with that very same gun this coming weekend. So I hope to bring the 40 years of experience that I have in the business community, which started out about 40 years ago with my walking into the Missouri Supreme Court to serve as a law clerk for the Chief Justice, and then continuing on through these other activities. Overlaying that was a 25-plus year career at Enterprise Holdings, known as Enterprise Rent-A-Car to many of you. So I hope to bring my experiences in public service, business, my passion for the outdoors, my interest in this beautiful state that we have, and bring that to the commission of very capable professionals.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Questions for Mr. Wagner? Senator Williams.
Congratulations, Ray.
Thank you, Senator.
You talked about a lot of different things, and I've known you for a long time and have had an opportunity to get to know you personally and professionally. And I learned even more when you reached out to me about your interest on this commission. I think you did yourself a disservice by really talking about the fact that you really laid out to me, and I'm sure other members of the legislature and the committee, how committed and dedicated you are to the outdoors and conservation. So I'm really excited. I'm in full support of you, just because, again, I think the myriad of activities that most people would consider an exceptional career, this is only going to be something that you continue to give your hard work to. So again, congratulations. You brought the less decorated, you left the less decorated son at home that I know, but again,
Yes.
just to get to know your family and again, outside of professional capacities, it's well deserved for you. So congratulations.
Thank you, Senator. And I assure you, I believe, Stephen, the son that is knows you well, and my daughter Mary Ruth and their families, and Ann are listening in. So I will hear about this, and I will be criticized, I'm quite confident, by one or all of them before it's over.
Further questions for Mr. Wagner? Senator.
Just briefly, we had a good conversation. I'm grateful that you came by my office
Thank you.
to talk and learned a lot more than I knew about you. Was really pleased to hear the experiences you've had and the work that you've done, not just in conservation, but in other areas. And you were talking about your vision, and I don't know how far you want to go into detail. You've mentioned some of that already, but I think you're well suited and fitted for this position. So I'm grateful that you want to participate. If there's something else you wanted to divulge, here's your time.
Well, I'm grateful for that question. It's a pleasure to visit with you, Senator. I look forward to sharing my experiences and insight as I go forward and during the course of this term. The one thing that I'm confident that my family listening to me will say that, yes, Ray, you once again continue to talk too long. So I will stop here, but I look forward to visiting with you at any time and often.
Further questions? Senator Bean.
Just happy to have you here, and congratulations once again. Appreciate a lot of the good conversations that we've had along the way, and I appreciate you understanding the importance of conservation and agriculture working together. So once again, congratulations, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Senator. I grew up in a family. My father was raised on a farm, and I understand the importance and the balance and the interest and so on. So it was great to talk to you about that.
Further questions? Seeing none. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for your willingness to serve. Next up, I'll hand the chair over to Senator Laughlin. We'll do Carole Iles as a member of the Administrative Hearing Commission. Senator Rowden. Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. Before you today, I have Carole Iles, a constituent of mine, who is a nominee to the Administrative Hearing Commission. She was appointed to the commission in June of last year. In addition to private companies, has worked for the General Counsel, for the Department of Revenue, as an Assistant Attorney General and a law clerk to Judge Wagner in the Supreme Court in the mid-'80s. She earned her J.D. From the University of Missouri-Columbia, a BA degree in International Affairs from George Washington, and an AA degree from Koenig College in Nevada, Missouri. Interesting. Commissioner Iles was born and raised in Cape Girardeau, and her and her husband live in Boone County.
All right, thank you for that. Does any member have any questions?
Madam
Senator Lukemeyer?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just have to ask the question because you went to Koenig College and you grew up in Nevada, Missouri. I, too, started my career out as a law clerk over across the street in the Supreme Court for Patricia Breckenridge, and I just assumed that maybe being from that town, you might know the Breckenridges.
Well, yes. I mean, they're from Nevada, and I have met Judge Breckenridge. I appeared before her when I was an Assistant Attorney General in Nevada. I used to have to travel all over the state when I was an AAG. But yes, I'm acquainted with the Breckenridges.
All right, any other questions? Senator Moon?
This is not particularly a question, but just a request. If when time permits, I'd like to visit with you sometime just to talk about some things and share ideas and
Sure.
just get your opinion on some things. So
Yes,
that'd be great.
I'd be happy to do that.
Super. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you for being willing to be here today, and thank you for your willingness to serve.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Next, we have Senator Rowden and Timothy Root being nominated to be on the Board of Cosmetology.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, members of the committee. Timothy Root is a constituent of mine being nominated to the Board of Cosmetology and Barber Examiners. He has owned Roots Nouveau Salon in Columbia since 2005. He attended the American College of Hair Design Cosmetology, and I think will make a great addition to this board. And I'm sure he'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Anyone have any questions? I knew you would. Senator Moon.
Mr. Root, thank you for stopping by the office to talk, and pleasure meeting Gianna, too. I'm glad you brought her with you. She holds you in high regard as a stylist. So that says something when your own family will say, yeah, that's good. We had discussions about all the different trainings and things of that. Some I knew, some I didn't, and you had pretty good perspectives, I think, on why. But do you see, and I think we talked a little bit about this, some give and take without violating any health standards particularly, and safety things, to where we're not kicking someone out of the profession? And you had a pretty good story. And so tell us what happened to you with regard to the overall training and costs that allowed you to participate.
Thank you for the question, Senator Moon, and thank you for taking time and speaking to me earlier. The story I think you're referring to is when I actually went in for cosmetology school, and I think you can see talent across the board when you see it. And I luckily went into a cosmetology school absolutely on a whim, had interest but had no idea as far as talent-wise. The owner saw talent. I explained to her I wasn't going to be able to afford to go. She gave me a $1,000 scholarship and knocked $1,000 off the price of the school. So here I am 28 years later, applying to the State Board of Cosmetology. It makes me very proud professionally to sit in front of my daughter, here today in front of all of you as well, and to apply for the board. So with that being said, I think the bare standards that we have now, at least as far as just cross-contamination, infection, those basic ideas and those basic education levels are right where they need to be. Personally, I wouldn't go any lower. It seems right now as our board is meeting, it is definitely coming down to personal safety of every Missourian in the state of Missouri that comes into a salon, barbershop, nail salon, spa for facial. So to answer your question, I think right now the hours are right where they need to be.
And I would agree on safety and those things. I'm just thinking if there's other things that are outside that if there is opportunity to reduce or even eliminate some of those things, so if someone comes in a position similar to yours and say, I just can't do it, but I want to, that we'll give them the opportunity. And so I'm sure members here would be willing to talk. If you have ideas, would like to forward those if we can.
Absolutely.
So appreciate you taking time to do that. Thank you.
I have a question. I have somebody that's been trying to get on there for 5 years. So I'm wondering, how did you do that? No, you must be very well qualified, and I appreciate your being here today. Does anybody else have any questions? Seeing none, thank you for your willingness to serve.
All right, next up we will hear Bill Grimwood, an independent as a member of the Missouri Western State University Board of Governors. Senator Luetkemeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. For the record, Tony Luetkemeyer, representing the 34th Senatorial District, here today to introduce Mr. Bill Grimwood. Mr. Grimwood has been appointed by the governor to the Missouri Western State University Board of Governors. He graduated, and Mr. Chairman, do not hold this against him.
Oh, we're going to talk about this in a minute.
From the University of Kansas, with a Bachelor's of Science degree in Business Administration. Since 1999, Mr. Grimwood has held several positions with Hilliard Companies and is currently the Chief Information Officer. Hilliard is a family-owned business that manufactures and distributes cleaning products and is headquartered in my district in St. Joseph. He has volunteered and served on numerous not-for-profit boards and committees, including the Missouri Western State University Foundation Board and the St. Joseph Chamber of Commerce. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
How much do you like your alma mater? That's been my first question.
Being introduced by a University of Missouri graduate, so I'm at a disadvantage right there.
I had a friend that I'm not actually sure how you know, but Drew Duncan, who texted me and said that there was a possibility that some additional scrutiny was needed because of your degree. But we're going to let it slide today out of the goodness of our hearts. So questions today for the nominee, Senator Williams.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you a hard time. My niece, she went to University of Kansas, and she was on a rowing team, and every holiday she had to deal with all of that, so I understand.
Yeah, I understand.
But I will say I had an opportunity to join Senator Luke DeMeyer on the campus of Missouri Western, and I was very, very impressed with some of the things that were happening there. I think some things that even overshadowed the fact that that is the home of the Chiefs training camp. So I think you have a tremendous opportunity to be an advocate for that university, and I've been able to really meet some really exceptional people that have been advocates, and again, from a distance, didn't quite understand it, but once I went to visit campus and learn about the institution, I think it's a really, really great university, and I wish you the best in that position.
Thank you, Senator. You're always welcome on campus, and we'd be happy to give you another tour.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll definitely find the time to come back. Thank you.
Further questions? Senator Boone.
Mr. Grimwood mentioned, I think somewhere in the introduction, Hilliard.
Yes.
They have a location in Springfield. Is that the same Hilliard?
Same Hilliard, yes.
Okay.
We have offices in Springfield and Columbia and Kansas City.
And still in business there. Okay. I haven't worked in Springfield for a number of years, but hospital I worked there did quite a lot of business with you. So very familiar with the product. So glad to meet someone who's part of that business.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You'll see him in the Capitol building as well. The dispensers and the restrooms.
Does that come along with the appointment? I'm kidding. Thank you for being willing to serve, though.
Thank you, Senator.
You're welcome. Further questions for Mr. Grimwood? Seeing none. Thank you for being here today. Thanks for your willingness to serve. Next up, we will hear Brittany Southworth, an independent as a member of the Missouri Commission on Human Rights. Senator Gannon. Appreciate everybody's patience today.
I present Brittany Southworth as an appointee to the Missouri Commission on Human Rights. Ms. Southworth brings a unique perspective to the Commission with an extensive background in the medical field. Ms. Southworth has served the southeastern Missouri community for over 15 years, first as a certified nurse's aide in various nursing homes, and then as a registered nurse and practice administrator for BJC Parkland in Farmington. Whether in administration or at patients' bedside, Brittany Southworth has provided medical care to a diverse community of patients to the best of her ability. Her administration of health care services to the public makes her no stranger to laws regarding discrimination in places of public accommodation. This experience, as well as her service-minded heart, make her a perfect fit for advancing the mission of the Missouri Commission on Human Rights.
Thank you, Senator. Ms. Southworth, thank you for being here today. Questions for this nominee? Senator Boone.
Ms. Southworth, thank you again for coming along with Mr. Lee to visit with me. It's probably not unlike other appointees and how you got involved and interested in it. But walk me through that again. Tell me why you're here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just believe that all people are of value regardless of their background, just by the very nature of their humanity. I serve as a nurse. I love just being in public service to others and caring for others. I was actually at work doing some of our mandated training, and we came across part of our training involved discrimination, and it talked about the Commission on Human Rights. I saw there was an opening for my district, so I applied.
Okay. Well, again, probably others have the same experience. I just haven't heard it before you mentioned it. Yeah. It seems like someone's always looking for somebody, but you looked for that specifically. So I wish you well in that. And as Mr. Lee pointed out earlier, you're kind of in a unique position, even though you don't have a quorum now. That will happen, but in the interim or in the meantime, you can still meet and discuss things, and hopefully not be too far behind when you get a quorum to actually do some things. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Senator Williams.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
You have a tremendous senator sponsoring you, by the way. You're probably arguably best dressed also. Really quick, I'll be interested, and I should ask this question when Mr. Lee was up. I'll love to keep in touch with both of you and learn how we can be helpful to the commission from our capacity and really understand the quorum situation a little better, because again, as Senator Moon stated, there's a lot of opportunities and work that you can do, both of you, but we'll love to figure out how we can assist in that capacity as well. So I'll love to connect at some point.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Further questions? Seeing none. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Next up, we will hear Dr. Ian Fox, a Republican, as a member of the State Board of Registration for the Healing Arts. Senator Trent. Oh, Senator Gannon, will you sign something for us? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Delighted to present Dr. Ian Fox, who's been nominated to serve on the State Board of Registration for Healing Arts. Dr. Fox has served his community for over 25 years as a medical professional and a member of our Army National Guard. I'm confident he will be a great asset to the board and to our state. Appreciate the committee's time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Mr. Fox, for being here. Questions for this nominee? Senator Moon.
I served as a rural family doctor in Sheridan County for 13 years. That's the Fox family home county. And commissioned after 9/11 into the Army Guard and have 5 deployments, 3 in combat zones, 1 in Iraq and 2 in Afghanistan. And continue my service now as a hospitalist in Springfield, Missouri. My whole entire career has been dedicated to Missouri, and that's what I intend to do on this board.
Well, thank you for that, and I wish you well in your service.
Further questions? Seeing none. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for your service. Next up, we will hear Ken Teague as a member of the Petroleum Storage Tank Insurance Fund Board of Trustees. Also, Senator Trent.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, very pleased to present Mr. Ken Teague, who's been nominated to serve on the Petroleum Storage Tank Insurance Fund Board of Trustees. Mr. Teague has served his community for over 30 years as an insurance agent, entrepreneur, and on numerous boards dealing with insurance policy. I am confident that he is going to be an outstanding member of this board, and just very much appreciate the committee's time and consideration for this nomination as well.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Mr. Teague, for being here. Questions? Senator Moon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Teague, thank you again for visiting with me. I don't know if we actually talked about the challenge, I guess would be the best way to say it, we had, but we did reach a resolution to it, and I hope that opens a door for continued conversation. What do you see as one of the challenges you have, if there is any, and your vision of, as your participation on the board? Do you see something that you've identified as something that can be tweaked just a little bit to make it better. Tell us what your vision might be.
Jim, that's actually how I became interested in this board. I had a client who purchased a gas station, and this particular gas station, the previous owner had not paid for the premium into the trust fund, and she had to have coverage. And so I went in the open market, and that open market was going to cost her $30,000 a year. So I worked with her to get the testing, to get all the work together in order to get into the trust fund, which the premium was minimal compared to that. So I think the biggest challenge that is facing business owners is just a lack of knowledge as far as how to get access to the fund. And I think if there's anything I can do, I can share to the trust fund board how business owners react and some of the challenges they face.
Continuing that, does the board have an education component, or is that something that may need to be added?
I've attended 3 board meetings, and at this point, that's not been discussed, but that's definitely a topic that I would like to bring up to really see what's out there for business owners.
Good. Well, thank you very much.
Further questions from Mr. Teague? Seeing none. Thank you for being here. Thanks for your willingness to serve. Thank you for being patient. Next up, we will hear Jonathan Held as a member of the Missouri Wine and Grape Board. Senator Brown.
Senator Ben Brown, thank you for the opportunity to present the nominee for the Missouri Wine and Grape Board, Jonathan Held. Jonathan brings an extensive amount of knowledge and experience from the industry. In fact, he was, I believe, born into the industry, and his family's commitment to growing Missouri's wine industry actually dates back to the 1960s. So grew up in the industry, look over his resume, it's pretty evident of the experience that he has. He's been personally involved with the Missouri industry since the 1980s. He's served on a number of committees at both the state and federal level, so brings knowledge and experience about policy at both levels of government. And with that, I think he'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Senator Brown. Questions today for the nominee? Senator Mann.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Held, you've had, as referenced by Senator Brown, you have a lot of experience in the winemaking industry. Have you ever heard of a muscadine grape?
Oh, absolutely,
have you
Senator.
Ever eaten one?
I've tasted them.
Have you?
It's one species of grape I have not grown. We're too far north.
Well, there is a variety now that has been cultivated for Missouri. I haven't had success in growing muscadines. I've tried taking them from Virginia and the Carolinas up here, but just not had success. I'm hopeful that one will someday. Of course, you probably recall it's got a real thick husk and or skin, and then mostly all seeded. But anyway, it's got a good flavor, and I wonder if you had ever experimented with that to see how it turned out in a wine.
Well, I have not personally experimented with that, but we do have a new cultivar trial going in at MU, and I will pass that along to our viticulture professor there and see if we can get it in.
No pressure on that. I was just wondering if you experimented there.
They have a lot of potential.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting line of questions about varieties because we're very interested in that. It's the number one priority we have in our industry is getting a more diverse varietal mix for our unique climate that we have here. And so it's something we're personally involved with. We are, our company is located a cultivar that was significant to the Missouri industry prior to Prohibition and was essentially lost. And we're having that variety put through virus testing and quarantine, hoping to bring it back into the industry. My oldest son is leaving next week on a kind of an Indiana Jones grape hunting mission to Brazil, where they are growing some of the old Native American varieties that were instrumental to the Missouri industry prior to Prohibition. So we're interested in trying to bring some of those back as well. One very famous one in Brazil that is totally lost to the Missouri industry.
Well, that sounds interesting. I'd be looking forward to the results of that. So thank you for being willing to serve, and thanks for your answers.
Thank you, Senator.
Further questions? Senator Esslinger.
Just briefly, I have an interest in and have been associated with Missouri State University in Mountain Grove. They have a lab there, and they grow varieties of wines, a variety of grapes. Are you familiar with the facility?
Very much so. I've spent many, many hours there.
And I know Ansel has been somebody who's had shepherded that. Just kind of curious, and I'd talk to you offline sometime about, the opportunities that are there in Mountain Grove and what more could be done to even raise it more.
Yeah, the staff there is actually doing some really good work. We're directing some funding there, particularly in this area of cultivar development. Dr. Chen-Feng Hong is a great breeder working on new cultivar crossing and with utilizing genetics to screen for particular problems like cold hardiness, disease susceptibility. And he's actually been crossing Norton with Cabernet Sauvignon and Chamberson with Cabernet Sauvignon. And we're looking at those crosses for potential, disease-free, cold hardy, more traditional enological characters. And it's quite promising. We actually have one of those new crosses from Mountain Grove in our vineyard. I have 300 vines of an experimental cross of Norton and Cabernet Sauvignon. We're very excited to see how it'll work out.
Wonderful. I'm just very proud of the site, and I think it's kind of a quiet or kept secret in Mountain Grove, Missouri.
It's a beautiful facility. They have some great staff. They've done incredible work over the years.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Congratulations. And I share the same sentiments as Senator Esslinger. I would love to sit and talk with you off record. There's two things I think are really important. There's some advocates that are talking about exactly what you're saying. How do we make Missouri a leader in the world when it comes to producing and actually educating and informing folks on the wine industry? The other part is I'm very interested in learning more about the process. I've had opportunities to go out west and meet with winemakers and just see the process, and it really makes you appreciate every glass of wine that you have or even have an opportunity to try. So again, I'd love to learn more about what you all are doing at Stonehill, but also some ways that we can make Missouri a champion, but also enhance the profession and get more people understanding the industry and ultimately going into it.
Well, I'd be delighted to host any and all of you at Stonehill to give you a basic 101 on Missouri viticulture and enology. It's a fascinating industry. We have an incredible history. Many of you may not know that Missouri was actually the leading state in wine production for a short period in the 1870s. Stonehill, in its heyday before Prohibition, was the second largest winery in the world for a short period of time. Or excuse me, second largest in the country, third largest in the world. Their wine, one of their wines was declared the best red wine of all nations at a World's Fair Expo in Europe, in Vienna. And they actually received, Stonehill did at that time, 9 World's Fair gold medals for their wines. So the history is there, the potential's there, and we just have to toot our own horn and sell people on what a great industry we have here. And my family is very committed to growing grapes here in Missouri. Not everyone has taken that path, because in the wine industry there's a lot of shipping of juice, shipping of wine, and bottling of American wines. We grow Missouri grapes. We're the largest producer of Missouri grapes in the state, the largest vineyard. We are dedicated to getting these new cultivars and elevating this industry. So I am delighted to be considered for this appointment, and hope that you will see fit to appoint me to the committee.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none. Thank you for being here today. Thanks for your willingness to serve.
Thank you.
One more, last but not least, Ronald Hack as a member of the Missouri 911 Service Board. Senator McCreary. Just for the edification of the committee, we need 6 people here to have a quorum to go into executive, so nobody go all that far, please.
Good afternoon. Thank you for sticking around. It's my great honor to present to you Mr. Ronald Hack. He's my constituent from Sunset Hills in South St. Louis County. He might look familiar to you because last year in front of this very committee I presented him for your affirmation. He's the chair now of the Missouri Governor's Council on Disabilities, and part of the requirement for the Missouri 911 Board, which is what we appear before you today, is somebody from the Missouri Governor's Council on Disabilities needs to be on the 911 board. So I bring to you Mr. Hack. He's very, very qualified. He's a very prestigious, well-respected attorney in my region, but the thing I'm most impressed by is his decades of community service around the city and the county of St. Louis. So I present to you Mr. Hack.
Fantastic. Thank you for being here today. Questions for Mr. Hack?
Yeah.
Senator Mosley.
How you doing? Can you hear me? This thing work?
Yeah, there you go.
Hi. There's been complaints about the response in 911, how they're not picking up in certain areas and not getting to people who are in desperate need of help. How are you going to address that?
Thank you for the question. That is the exact question. I have attended a couple of meetings, and that is the exact question I raised at the first in-person meeting that we had. We discussed it. Part of I didn't know, but I was informed that a lot of the 911 calls and response times is governed by the local agency. The state agency can only make sure there's adequate training, monies for technology, etc. But the actual recording of times and things and making sure they're doing what they promised to do is by the local 911 agency in the county, city, or whatever it is in the state of Missouri. The one thing I have learned by attending a couple of the meetings so far is, number one, there is still not, almost there, but still not total statewide 911 capabilities, especially in the rural counties, down south and up north. There's still. Second thing is to try to get the counties to talk to each other, the departments to talk to each other, not only physically talking, but making sure you have the same technology so the calls go in, especially in the rural areas, as it was mentioned before. A call comes in, the person doesn't know where they are, or it says Jones Street Road, which is how it's locally known, but it's not known among the responders. They are trying to do a geospatial mapping, and I think they finished all the geospatial mapping for the northern part of Missouri, and they're working toward getting to the south. It is a companion program, I believe, with the University of Missouri in their departments. I've heard about it, I've read about it, I don't understand half of it, I'll be first one. But they're trying to get so that everyone, when they call 911, they get a responder who knows where you are in a timely fashion and can handle the problem that you have. And I think those are the three critical things for anybody on the 911 board and any citizen.
Okay. And what about addressing the call going to the wrong 911?
I mean, that is happening, I think, in part with the geospatial. If they can track the cell phone, they can track exactly where you are rather than 3 houses down the road and stuff. So that it won't cure it completely. It won't apply to landlines, as I understand, but they're working on that technology too. But they're trying to get it so that the responders get to the accurate place in the most efficient time and having the right responders. Because again, I've heard stories that in rural Missouri, they needed an ambulance, but the sheriff's department came because that's who got the call. And they could have saved more people if they had the right piece of equipment, the right paramedic, the right responders. So I think it's a function of technology, it's a function of cooperation, and eventually, of course, it's going to be a function of money to get fund the first two.
Right.
And I'm very pleased for the honor. And the other part is to bring the voice of those who are disabled, the elderly, and those who are physically, mentally, those who can't speak, make sure there's training for that, the hearing impaired, the visually impaired, to make sure there's adequate training at all levels for all responders across the state.
Great, thank you. Senator Boone.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Hack, the answer you provided to Senator Mosley's question prompted a question in my mind. And some of the difficulties that you alluded to, we've experienced in some of the counties that I'm representing. And I realize that the local communities are responsible for implementing the systems. And so help me understand the role of your position. You collecting information?
The executive director and those who are the administration are offering grants to the various groups.
Gotcha.
And they're recommending various technologies appropriate for that jurisdiction or that things, as well as online training for everybody that is, and they're monitoring that. And I've seen the reports every month to monitor that the people are being trained in the use of the technology, because it's great to have the technology, but if the people don't know how to use it in a emergency situation, it doesn't do any good at all.
Yeah, right. Well, it sounds like a big task, because as alluded by the previous appointee, technology is changing, seems constantly. So you have a lot of work cut out for you. I wish you well.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for being patient. Thank you for your willingness to serve. I make a motion that we move into executive session. Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. As opposed to say no. We're in executive session. I make a motion that we roll the entirety of this list of nominees into one slate. I also want to mention, before doing so, we do have a list of reappointments that are at the bottom of your page. We traditionally do not have them come before us, but they will be a part of this slate as well. I make a motion to roll that slate together. Moved and seconded. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those contrary say no. The slate is before us, and now I make a motion that we do pass that slate to the Senate floor. Moved and seconded. Discussion. Chris, call the roll.
Senator Rowden.
Aye.
Laughlin, with the chair. Dean with the chair.
By a vote of 10-0, you voted this slate to the Senate floor. Make a motion to move out of executive session and adjourn. Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. We are adjourned.